Good evening, everybody.
Kavod Haraf, how are you?
Thank God.
Oh, Hashem.
Good evening, Rabbi.
Okay, we're starting a new chapter. I think this is the last chapter in this topic. 127, Kuf Chav Zayin. Oh, this was the wrong one. Okay, so it says in the tour here, שיגיע שליח ציבור למודים, when a שליח ציבור comes to מודים, שוכין עמו הציבור. So what happens is that we all bow with him as he bows. The Garcinan Yerushalmi, because it says in Yerushalmi, Hakol shochin ima shliach tzibur be'odam. Everybody bows together with the shliach tzibur in this place. Thanksgiving. Katav Rambam, says the Rambam, V'lo yishchu yoter midai. Says the Rambam, you shouldn't bow too much. Ve'enu meshma ken Yerushalmi. That doesn't apply this in Yerushalmi. It says Deita hadtam, because it says over there, Maaseh bechad sheshacha yoter midai. There was one person who bowed too much. Ve'viro ri Rabbi Yehuda, this rabbi removed him from Mashma Dekai Dafka Ashliach Tzibur. So it says implies only to Shliach Tzibur. The lo shach havara ela b'shliach tzibur, because removing somebody is only relevant regarding the shliach tzibur. ומטעם זה אין להחיל להתפלל אלא אם כן יכול לגמור קודם שיגיע שליח ציבור למודים. Okay, so let's see first picture set before we get to the other stuff here. So says Bet Yosef regarding this. Where's the source? Perek Kama de Brachot. It's in the first perek of Brachot. Halacha Hey, which is in Yerushalmi. Haomer modim modim meshatkin oto. The person says modim twice, we silence him. Need to ba'er b'siman kuf chafar. We already explained that in chapter 121. But then he goes on, Katav Rambam, right? There's a two said. The Rambam said, the Pektet Milchot Tfilah, the laws of Tfilah, Velo Yishchu Yoter Midai, they shouldn't bow too much. As we said, the Ta'amo Mishum De'ita B'Yushalmi, the reason is because it says in Yerushalmi, and we just mentioned, Ma Omrim HaTzibur B'Shah Sheshochin, what does the community say at the time where they bow? The Allah Kamar, regarding that it says Tane Uvilvad Shelo Yeshuach Yoter Midai. But it says, right, you shouldn't bow too much. Rabbeinu Katav Shenu Nir Eken, and the Torah wrote that he doesn't agree with this. Why? Because it says afterwards there, there was one person who bowed too much. Rabbi, and this rabbi, right, Rabbi, removed him. Amar Rabbi Chia Ba'avam. So says this rabbi, Lo hava ma'avir ela ga'ar. So he says, you didn't remove him, he just rebuked him. Mashma de ashliach tzibur davka ka'eh. So it implies, this language, that's talking about the shliach tzibur davka. The lashon ha'avara lo shayach ela b'shliach tzibur, because removing somebody is only relevant regarding shliach tzibur. V'ani omer, so he says, I say, she'en mikan raya. This is that really, this is not really a proof. Rambam, to nullify the words of the Rambam, because there is to say the ben tzibur, ben shliach tzibur, whether it's a community or there is to say that whether it's a community or the shliach tzibur, Kamar, he said so. The law is shvu yoter midai, they shouldn't bow too much. Umasei sheira b'shliach tzibur. So he says there was a certain case where happened with shliach tzibur. The biro Rabbi removed him. But nevertheless, it's also the case. She'im hayaro echad me'tzibur. You would have seen somebody from the community doing this. Shaya shocheh yoter midai, that it was bowing too much. Shaya go'erbo, you would have rebuked him. Eladim ken havaleh le'Rambam lichtov. This is if so, the Rambam should have written, the gam shliach tzibur lo yishcheh yoter midai. Also, shliach tzibur shouldn't bow too much. Ve'efshar shema katav lo yishchu yoter midai. So it's possible that that what she wrote, we shouldn't bow too much. Also applies to shliach tzibur. The Rambam, since it's possible that also the Rambam mefaresh demai de kama Rabbi Chia. But that which this rabbi said, lo hava ma'avir ela ga'ara, that he wasn't really removing him, just rebuking him, as we said. Hainu lomar, that means to say the lo shliach tzibur ela echad min ha'am. The shliach tzibur is one of the people. The lo haviro, we didn't really remove him. Because we don't really remove somebody for that. Rather, he rebuked him. But it says shliach tzibur, we're not concerned if he bows too much. Questions like this, Rabbi. The Tama de lo yishchu yoter midai nir'eh shehu mishum de michze kiyuhara. So now he gives you the reason, right? What's the reason why we're concerned that a person shouldn't bow too much? So he says the reason is because of yuhara. 1 second. So what is yuhara? Yuhara means that a person is being arrogant, conceit. If he's bowing too much, doing too much is like showing off, like doing a show. He's bowing more than everybody else. According to this, it says, the same thing also would apply to the first blessings. that if you bow too much there, but so she'en shochin b'hem, that you'll tell me that you shouldn't bow too much there as well. That's what implies in Yerushalmi. The Maite Allah that he brings there, Hadamarav Kishu, that which Rab said, Kishu Korea Baruch that when he bows at the word of Baruch, and when he gets up, when he erects the body, he bows, he erects at the time of the name of God. Dapa Pisha Poskim. Katuhu Gabe Modim, and even though the Poskim wrote this regarding Modim, Lab Dafka Ela Mishum Din Yerushalmi, but it's not only that. The reason why they did it that way is because the Yerushalmi wrote like that. Tanehachi Al Modim Nakatua Inhu Nami the Modim. So they also said, right, since the Yerushalmi talked about Modim, they also talked about Modim. But the truth is, it also applies to other places where we bow. So it's also possible that whether Yerushalmi or the Poskim, they talked about Modim, because some people like to bow a little bit too deep over there, a little bit too much. More than other places. So it implies to them that whoever adds too much over there to bow too much, you may think, well, it's praiseworthy. That's why they do it so much. So therefore they wrote that you shouldn't bow there too much either. In other words, you shouldn't think that over there you have more permission to bow deeper or whatever. Same thing also applies to other places. That we bow there. So he says, but according to this, you should have written this regarding a person who prays, not to bow too much. So the question is, why didn't they write it that way? Why did they only write it regarding Modim? What about the other places? Okay, so it goes on. Ufichach says, therefore, says Bet Yosef, so it seems like that we're talking about only the repetition. The Shliach Tzibur, there they said you shouldn't bow too much. So he says it's possible the reason is because since they already prayed and bowed and everything, so now if they bow too much, it looks like they're we're only bowing we shouldn't look like heretics. And to fulfill this obligation, you don't really have to do much. If you do too much, there's going to be concern about conceit. That's what this rabbi also writes. Meanwhile, Tosfot בסוף פרק כמה דברכות, but he says Tosfot over there in this place, קרא כחיזרא, כתבו דעיתא בירושלמי regarding this issue. They wrote that it says in Yerushalmi, ובלבד שלא ישוח יותר מדי, they shouldn't bow too much. וכן כתבו בסמ"ג, also these rabbis wrote, והאגרות מימניות, and these rabbis, ומשמע דסביר לו, so implies they hold, וכי אמרינא בירושלמי, that when we say in Yerushalmi, שלא ישוח יותר מדי, you shouldn't bow too much, לכל מקום שאמרו חכמים לשחוט קין. It's referring to every place where the rabbi said to bow. ולא למודים בלחוד, and not only מודים. מטעם זה, so it says, from this, because of this reason, אין להחיד להתפלל, אלא אם כן יכול לגמור. קודם שיגיע שליח ציבור למודים. So it says the two, right? Because of this reason, a person shouldn't start praying if he comes late, unless he can get can finish by the time the shliach tzibur gets to modim. ואם התחיל והגיע שליח ציבור למודים, so it says, if he started and the shliach tzibur got to modim, והוא באמצע, and he's in the middle, אחד מן הברכות, one of the blessings, ישחה, אבל אם, right. So I think we should now go back to the tour and catch up over there. So, it says in the tour regarding this, מטעם זה, because of this reason, he says, אין להחיד להתפלל, אלא אם כן יכול לגמור קודם שיגיע שליח ציבור לימודים. A person shouldn't pray, right, unless he's sure he can finish before שליח ציבור gets לימודים. Why? Because he has to bow with them and so forth. And the answer, there שלא יהיה נראה ככופר, they shouldn't look like a denier, right, heretic, whatever. אם אינו משתחווה עם הציבור, because he's not bowing together with them. ואם התחיל והגיע שליח ציבור למודים, and if he did start, a little bit late, right, whatever, השליח ציבור got to מודים, והוא באמצע אחד מן הברכות, he's in the middle of one of the blessings, ישחה, what should he do? ישחה, he should bow, אבל אם הוא בתחילת ברכה, או בסופה, but if he's in the beginning of one of the blessings or in the end, לא ישחה אלא באבות, should only bow in the first blessings or בהודעה, last three. והוא תתניא קורא בהודעה, that's what we learn in the Baita, that a person who bows in Hodah, Modim, how does that megune? It's considered to be disgraceful. So, so therefore we qualify this as saying, talking about the Hodah in the Halel, Birkat HaMazon, which is Birkat HaMazon. So it says in Sotah, in the Gemara there, בשעת ששליח ציבור אומר מודים, the time when שליח ציבור says מודים, העם, מה הם אומרים? What do the people say? What do they answer? So, it gives you the whole text over there, right? מודים אנחנו לך, etc., 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 ופליגי בה אמוראה. So he says there's a מחלוקת in the אמוראים regarding this, lots of מחלוקת, והסיקנה אמר הפאפה ילקח. So therefore, right, comes the Papa and says, since there's a machloket, how to do this, how to answer, what we do is we combine all of them. We say combine all of them, all the opinions. So this is the text over there. What's in text? We give thanks to you, Hashem our God. You're the God of all the flesh. You created us, you created the beginning. Blessings and thanksgiving to your great name. That which you give us life and sustained us. And all which you give us life and sustain us. And gather our exile. To your holy courtyard. To keep your laws and to serve you with a full heart. That which we thank you. And Yerushalmi, right, there's also sealing there, right? The conclusion, it says, Baruch Atah Hashem, but we don't do it that way. So he said that was the custom of the Rosh, to do like the Yerushalmi. When it comes to Birkat Kohanim, if there's Kohanim there, Nosim Kapehem, they do the blessing there. If there's no Kohanim there, Yomarhu Birkat Kohanim. So then, right, the Chazan will say Birkat Kohanim. Katab Baal Hamanhid says this rabbi, Birkat Kohanim Asur Leachid Lama Gam Betzibur Yesh Shem Omim Otam. So he says that he writes that the blessing of the priestly blessing, the individual should not say it, right, when there's no minyan. And he says some people don't even say it when there is a minyan. אנשי מזרח שליח ציבור אומר ברכת כהנים, קורם אנשי מערב שליח ציבור אומר בשמו, ושמו את שני שאסור להזכיר השם, אלא אם כן היה כהן. למדנו מזה שאסור להחיד לאמרה, כל מקום, כל הגלות הם אנשי מזרח, קוראים אותה כקורא בתורה, עד כאן. וכתב עוד, so he brings here, right, several opinions here about how it's done. Some, as we said, right, when there's no minyan, you don't say Birkat Kohanim. That's one thing. Number two, if there is a minyan, some don't do it anyway, right? And some do. Okay. Just give me 1 second. I'm sorry. Okay, so as we said, Katab Od, he writes furthermore, Al Shem Rashi, right? The name of Rashi. And the Shliach Tzibur Lamar Pasuk the Samud Shimi, the Shliach Tzibur shouldn't say this verse. Shekvar Bikashnu Barachenu Bebracha Meshuleshet. So we already requested this, so there's no point in repeating it again. כבר אמרנו המשולשת, ומה לנו להוסיף עוד סמוד שני? So why should you say it again? כשם שאנו אומרים פה בברכות בני ישראל, ששניהם לשון צוואה ולא לשון ברכה, אבל רב אמרם כתב. So he says, right, that the reason why we don't say that verse is because we already said something beforehand which implies the same thing. So therefore, there's no point in repeating it. And then he says, but there's also another opinion, Rav Amram, Im en sham kohanim. He says, right, that there's no kohanim. Shliach tzibur omer, right? Shliach tzibur says it. So what does he say? It says like this, right? Eloheinu b'levatenu barachenu, right? Sheshnem b'bracha b'chulei, right? To this whole text that we have in the Sidur. Ad Shalom, right? So yeah, so right, basically the Torah is telling you that there's different opinions, but this is the halakha. The halakha is that when there are no kohanim in the minyan, if you do have a minyan, the shliach tzibur says the birkat kohanim, right? Instead of the kohanim, even though it's not the same thing, because the kohanim are really supposed to do it, but you know, he's like you know, filling in for the kohanim. You know, it's like a substitute teacher. Whatever. That's it. So that's what it says in the Torah. Okay, so the Torah is done. We're done with that. Let's go look at the Yosef. So explains the Bet Yosef regarding what we said in the Torah. Right, we said that the Torah mentioned that if a person was not able to, right, daven, you know, pray very fast, he was kind of slow. So because of that, he wasn't able to get up to finish before the Shliach Tzibur gets the Modim. So because of that, right, he can't really answer because he's in the middle of the prayers. So what does he do? What he does is that he just bows. That he can do, right? Just a bodily motion. Okay. And then he says, furthermore, so it says Bet Yosef, Pshita sheshochev v'chol devarim elu shekatav kan rabbeinu nidbaru b'siman kuftet. We already explained this halacha in chapter 109. Okay, so then he goes on regarding what the Torah said, that if he bows, right, so it's like considered to be like disgraceful in Thanksgiving. So, right, regarding that, the Torah said it's not talking about the Amidah that we're talking about. It's talking about Hallel. Over there, you're not supposed to bow. So he says, Bet Yosef, where's the source for that? The Sopek and Omdin, over there in Gemara, Lamida, Lamudbet, Tanim, Chada. It says over there, one opinion says, Hakorea be'oda'ah harazeh meshubach. If you bow at Toda'ah, that's praiseworthy. And then we have another, the Tanya Idach, but there's another bright that says what? how does that meguneh? It's considered to be disgraceful. Not kasher. So there's no discrepancy there. Ha betchila, ha lebesof. We're not talking about the beginning. We're not talking about the end. Rava kara beodah techila besof. But Rabbi used to do in both places. Amele Rabbanan. So the rabbi told him, "Amay ka abid moache." Why do you do like that, right? You're bound in both places. Amele chazina le Rav Nachman dekara bechazina le Rav Sheshat deka abid hachi. So he says, I saw these two big rabbis who did like that, so I'm doing like them. But the Brayta says that it's disgraceful. That's talking about Halel and Birkat Hamazon, right? As we said. So it's two different things, there's no contradiction. Okay, good. The Katav Rabbeinu Yonah says Rabbeinu Yonah. The Hu Adin L'Shara Odaot. So the same thing also applies to other Thanksgiving. Kigon Ulecha Levadecha Anachnu Modim, like this one. Shebenishmat Kochai, which is in Nishmat Kochai, which we say on Shabbat. V'chen kol kayotze b'zeh, and things like this similar. She'en lichua ela b'makom shamu chachamim. So what's the rule? The rule is, you should only bow in a place where the rabbi said to bow. Right. So therefore, if they didn't say to bow there, don't bow. Don't just make up your own rules. That's the thing. So wherever they said to bow, you should bow. Wherever they didn't say to bow, you should not bow there. It's not optional. Either it's like you're commanded or you're forbidden. Okay. Says, I already wrote this in chapter 113. Katavti Sham, he says, I also wrote there, the Shem Rabbeinu Yerocham, name Rabbeinu Yerocham. Also another place, same thing. Katav Rashba, says Rashba, Sharavad Piresh, the Rabbi explains, the Rabba Kara Behodah, that which Rabba was bowing in Hodah, Techila Basof, the beginning and end, Lo Bekriyot Shliach Tzibur, not talking about the bowing of Shliach Tzibur, Ve'achidam, and the individual, Amit Palim, the praying, who the Pshita, that's obvious, he says. We're not talking about that. Vadai the Techila Basof, Ela Bekriyot the Modim. So we're talking about Modim de Rabbanan. We're talking about Modim de Rabbanan, which is what the community answers when he says Modim, the Shliach Tzibur. The Garcia B'Yushalmi, it says in Yushalmi, Tane Hakol Shochachin Im Shliach Tzibur. It says over there in the Braita, everybody bows with the Shliach Tzibur. Beodah in the Thanksgiving. Amar Rabbi Zera says this rabbi will be watching the Modim. Zera hu ahava samuk likroba kidei shehen zera. Right. So he says only regarding the Modim de Rabbanan that he was close to the end. Likroba kidei shehen shochech imot tchila. So he was bound with him together at the beginning and end. ונראה מכאן ששוכחים מודים דרבנן בסוף, אבל אין משגיחים לשוח עם החזן בסוף ההודעה, אלא באיזה מקום שיסיים מודים דרבנן. So it says from here, it seems like that we don't bow at the end with the chazan of the modim. Rather, it says any place where he concludes the modim the Rabbanan. Rabbi Zera haya mechaven v'omer. The Rabbi Zera used to say, "Miat miat kadesh yashlim," little by little, in order that he should conclude im chazan, to finish the chazan together. ונראה כאילו קורע עמו תחילה בסוף. So it seemed like he was bowing with him together in the beginning and end. עד כאן לשונו, that's the end of it. רבנו הגדול מר אבוהב. This big rabbi says, כתב בשם רבנו שאלה, he writes in the name of this rabbi, יש מי שחוזרים וקוראים כשמסיימים. Some also write they bow when they finish, ויש מסיימים בסקיפה, and some of them write when they conclude they erect the body. ורבתה לא מיכו לא לזה ולא לזה. The rabbis didn't object here or there. עד כאן. והם דברי אורחות חיים. That's in the words of אורחות חיים. וראיתי כתוב על שם אחד מגדולי המפרשים. So I saw name of the written in one of the big commentaries. שצריך לשחוט בעוד שאומר כל מודים דרבנן. He has to bow when he's saying מודים דרבנן all the way. והעולם נהגו שלא נכרוע אלא בשעה שאומר תיבת מודים. But he says the custom is not like that they only bow just when they say the word modim. Okay. בלבד. ופשט הירושלמי, הכי משמע. It says that's the way it implies in Yerushalmi. דמה רבי זעירא, that which Rabbi Zera said, ובלבד במודים, only in מודים, היינו לומר שאין צריך לשחוט אלא בתיבת מודים. That means that you have to only bow in a word where it says מודים. בלבד. וכמה דזעירא היינו חכם אחד, so when it says זעירא, it's talking about a certain rabbi, his name was זעירא. אחד, שהיה שמו כך, ולא הגיע לקרא רבי היה נוהג לשוח עם שליח ציבור, so he says he didn't come when he was called, and so Rabbi was accustomed to bow with the shliach tzibur, תחילה בסוף, beginning and end, ומחמיר על עצמו, he was מחמיר on himself. היה, ואין לנו אלא דברי רבי זעירא, but he says, we only have the words of Rabbi Zera. כן יראה לי, בכל מקום, that's what it seems to me, he says, בכל מקום טוב לדקדק לשוח בו תחילה בסוף לחוש לדברי הרעב"ד. But he says, anyway, it's good to be, right, to be stringent, whatever, and bow, beginning and end, to, why? To do like the words of the Rabbad. Gasinam besotah. So he says, we have it's written in the Sotah, בשעה ששליח ציבור אומר מודים, when the שליח ציבור says מודים, הכי איתה בפרק אלו ממרים, it says over there in this פרק מם עמוד א', בזמן ששליח ציבור אומר מודים, when שליח ציבור says מודים, העם, מה הם אומרים? What do these people say? אמר רב מודים אנחנו לך, this is the text, right? אדוני אלוהינו, על שאנו מודים לך, ושמואל אמר אלוהי כל בשר, עד שאנו מודים לך, Rabbi Simai Omer. So these three rabbis are saying different versions of this. Omer Yotzerenu Yotzer Bereshit Al Shenu Modim Lach Me'abdei Amrei Mishmei. So this more rabbis, right? Say different version, different text. Mishmei the Rabbi Simai, name of this rabbi. Brachot ve'odot L'Shem Hagadol Al Shechiyatenu V'Kiyamtenu Al She'anu Modim Lach. Rabbi Yaakov Mesayin Ba Hachi Ken Techaenu V'Tchonenu Tekabatzenu. לעשות גלויותינו לחסות קודשך לשמוע חוקיך לעשות רצונך בלבד ולבב שלם עד שאנחנו עונים לך. I'm not going to translate this because we already did it before in the tour, but the point is like this, right, that there's several different rabbis here who have different texts about how to answer modim. So as we said, right, Amar Papa said Hilchach Neinum Elokuhu. So therefore what we do is we say all of them. In other words, we combine all of them and say any one of them, every version, one after the other, right? So we've concluded everything. And Rashi explains, right, regarding this text that we gives thanks to you. You put into our hearts, right, to thank you. We are clinging to you, and we thank you. Rabbi Simai Mosif, Rabbi Simai answers, adds this, right? וכן כולם מוסיפים, all of them are adding, הם הראשונים on the first. ומשמע דכי היחיד לנוסחה דמוראה כמאה, על שאנו מודים לך כהרשע רב אחא ביעקב, נמי הרשע דמיותא קאי. So he says that implies from here. Okay, I guess we'll stop here. We'll continue the next time. There's still a lot more text over here in the Beit Yosef. So we'll stop here and we'll continue next time. So just to to sum up what we just said right here, that when the Shliach Tzibur says Modim, what happens is that the community answers, right, all these texts that we just mentioned. We put them all together, even though they were said by different rabbis, and we sum it up together and we say it all together in one shot. This is what we do, So this is the way it's done, and that's called Modim de Rabbanan, right? That's what we answer when the Shliach Tzibur is saying Modim. So you can see from here, by the way, all this material that we learned today is that Modim is considered to be a very important place in the Amidah. So therefore, a person has to do it properly, make sure that he answers, right? And as we said, right, that even if he's not he's not in a place where he can answer, at least he should bow. We're going to learn more about this, by the way, because there are also other rules, involved with this. But we want everybody, to, no matter where he is in the prayers, we want everybody to do something over there to show that he gives thanks to Hashem, So everybody's got to do his little share there, Whether he's able to talk, he's not able to talk, whatever it is, he's got to do something there to show that he's participating with this mitzvah of saying modim. Thanksgiving, right? So thanks to Hashem, giving thanks to Hashem. Okay,
what do they do?
Blessed with wealth, health, happiness. Pray for the victory of Am Yisrael. That's what Hashem. Oh Hashem, it looks like they got one hostage out there. They got her. They saved her. The commandos went in there and saved her. Some lady, who was a soldier lady. They got her out of there. There's Hashem. They should get everybody out. There's more than 200 people there. It's horrific, But,
Rabbi, you don't think that this whole thing can spiral out of control throughout the whole world? I mean, it already is.
The truth is, that this is all just gossip, hype. It's just a small little local war. Nothing is going to spiral. There's not going to be any spirals. There's not going to be any any conflagrations. It's all nonsense. This is
well, I didn't see the world, demonstrating and up in arms and chanting, let's kill Americans, when Bush and Cheney were slaughtering, over 1 million Iraqis and Afghanis for 20 years.
Well, what can I tell you? I'm not going to get into now this whole politics.
No, I'm not. I'm not trying to get anybody into this. I'm just making a point.
Don't don't listen to what they're saying. Listen. I'm not listening to anybody. I'm just raising a point. Don't listen to them. Just pray for the safety and victory of Am Yisrael. That's what we need.
Yeah. What I'm saying is that everybody in this country, and probably in every other artificially made up country in the world, is living in occupied land. And it's all politics, it's all propaganda. Yeah.
Anyway, we don't.
That's what I'm saying. I didn't see the world rise up and saying gas Americans or gas Bush and Cheney. Well, some did, because we invaded two countries.
Okay, let's not get into politics, David. We're staying in Divrei Torah. Let's stay with Divrei Torah. Let's say politics is politics. We don't need that stuff. We don't. Doesn't help. Doesn't help to talk about these things.
Have a good one.
Have a
God
question.
bless.
Have a question.
See you tomorrow.
Have a question.
Sure.
She has a question.
Y'all
Sure, we're still here.
So with the modim, if you don't bow when the Shliach Tzibur starts it, or does his thing, then if you miss it, what do you have? What can you do? If you were so involved in your
you missed it. What can you?
There's no going back.
You can. You have like a few seconds, because until everybody answers, takes a couple of seconds, whatever. So you have like 2 seconds. Once you missed it, that's what can you do, right? That's the way.
It's not one of those critical things where you have to go back or whatever.
No, it's not. You don't have to go back, whatever. But just you should try to catch something there if you can.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, all the best.
I was hoping it was political, Shoshana.
I tried very hard to keep.
She's got better things to do.
Wow. I'm running for office, so.
God bless. All the best.
Okay.
Matzlacha to you.
Thank you, Rabbi.
All the best.
Kavod Harav, thank you so much.
Bye.